I'm going to show you an unconventional system for goal plan setting that you haven't seen before, that I've taken from one of the most influential entrepreneurs of our time and adapted it and refined it. How do you not repeat the last mistakes, errors, people, and activities? And how do you figure out what are the invisible chains holding you down that you didn't even know were there? You need the appropriate reflection, self-analysis, and review and system. I'm going to give that to you right now and show you how to use it. The past year review, 80-20 analysis. This all is governed under the principle of Pareto's law, which shows that the outcomes in your life come from a small number of inputs. 80% of the benefit, the money, the positive experiences you experience are down to about 20% of the actual people and things that you do. You want to identify what they are to continue, which ones are actually contributing and wasting your time, energy, and resources. And I'm going to give you a set of questions to help do that. But that is what the template and the system here is based on. If you ask the right questions, you can get answers that you didn't even know you needed. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you guys a little gift as well, particularly for the coaches. We start with self-analysis. Open this up on a computer for the best experience. Link is below to download this. Blue boxes indicate question. We're going to start with analysis first, and I'm going to show you how to analyze the peak positive, peak negative emotions. I'm going to give you real examples from me that I've used in my life. I'm going to show you high leverage habits for 10x productivity. We're going to show you via negativa, that's a decision remover, and how you can create more by removing more. Put it into action, actually holding you accountable to put it into action, into your calendar, into appropriate tools to help you make these decisions now, to not just have this be another exercise you do where you do another exercise and it's just something you do and hasn't actually tangibly improved your life. That's not going to happen here. Let's begin with self-analysis. The first thing you need to do for this is for your goal setting, instead of your planning that you typically do, you actually want to self-analyze the calendar, the journal, the bank statements, the photo camera roll, social media feed. You're going to forget a lot of parts of your year unless you do that. So we use that to prompt things that you may have forgotten. Once reviewed, you then ask this question, blue box here. Let me come up here for a second for you. What are the 20% of activities, habits, experiences, commitments that have triggered the peak positive and peak negative emotions? What's the minority that has triggered the majority? And I'll give you an example there in the template for myself, just to make a relatable, very real example of me. For example, like boxing is a very big outlet for my, energy, and that gives me disproportionate, a positive outcome for the 2 hours a day that I put into it, which is 20% or so of my day. Now let's go to the peak positive emotion review table. Okay, we've broken them down in different categories, which you can edit and add your own. What you want to do here is, after you've self-analyzed the year, you want to, for each subsequent category, you want to put in what has been the peak positive events of your year. You can't just go off your memory. You have to look back into the past, go into your camera roll, go into your credit card statements to see where your purchases reflect your identity and your value system. So look into that stuff and see what you value and remind yourself of all the things that you did, your Instagram, for example. Then you ask why, okay? Because you are blind to your own ideas of why you like and dislike things. You think you know until you really sit there and ask why they triggered the positive events, and you start to see patterns once you build this all together and start to understand yourself more, which then helps you build a better future of your life. You're welcome to do the emotions that you experienced. For example, I noticed a pattern for myself. When I ended up doing this, I noticed a consistent negative emotion for me was anger, frustration, and annoyance. These are peak negative emotions that I experienced in the last year in particular. And I realized that it came up again and again. And that was somewhat news to me. I know I experienced them, but I didn't have the labels and didn't have the pattern in front of me. And that illuminated to me that, these are emotions that, when I do experience negative emotions, these are quite common. Okay, what am I going to do about that? How do I want to show up better in the world? And that wasn't as aware to me before, now it is. Then you put in the lesson learned, because you need feedback loop. And that's what this allows. You need an appropriate feedback loop in order to actually do something and continue doing something that you didn't realize you need to keep doing, or remove something that you didn't realize needs to go. For example, that's my lesson learned about combat. When things pull me in multiple directions, it can make me more aimless, more frustrated. Going to the negative emotions now. The difference between this one, it has at the end called the fix. And by the way, because I haven't mentioned it, top right corner of this, you'll see a duplicate button that you can duplicate into your own Notion. And if you want to duplicate these rows right here, just click the dots and click duplicate. Now, the difference between this one is the fix. For me, this personal one, negative emotions, like think about people, think about experiences. For example, I didn't mention it here, but travel. I had 31 flights last year, and it's a blessing. I'm very grateful to be able to travel the world and run business and make an impact, go wherever I want mostly. And cool, but actually cool to you, not cool to me anymore. I want stability, I want consistency, I want to be in one place. I want to establish my roots and a home somewhere. 1 or 2 places, not a bunch of them. So that was a peak negative emotions for me. It wasn't good. It really was frustrating and was a bit of an emotional roller coaster at some times when I wanted to be somewhere else, but I was somewhere else. So reflecting on that, I know coming into this year that stability, consistency is, I'm going to put my roots somewhere. That's very important. Big low-hanging fruit for me for this year, where I could just chase the sexiness of traveling and flying around places and running my business from different places. We've agreed that that's not something that we value as much now. Via reflection, realizing that. A big one that a lot of you can relate to, when technology is slow. Whatever, you might think, not for me. Time is a very big value of mine. Why? I interact with it so much and it impacts my workflow. A frustration, anger, or annoyance, like those exact emotions I said to you before. Lesson learned, what was it? The fix. Just invest more money into the thing. And then later on, you're going to see how I do that and which devices I get, which helped me improve output with my time in much greater areas by one habit and action that I can take. So you want to reflect on this. Go personal, go deep. I'm not showing you all the behind the scenes of like every single one that I've done, but go deep into your own like emotional vault and actually reflect, because your state, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react. And your state is basically a reflection of your quality of life. So the same thing can happen to 2 people. Viktor Frankl in the Holocaust writes a book and finds meaning in suffering. Another person died or suffered the most through it, and even kind of, Viktor Frankl talks about how people kind of give up mentally and they die. And they have the same experience. And that's the same for you and me. We can have the same experience. I get a concussion, you get a concussion. You get hit in the face, I get hit in the face. You stop boxing, I keep boxing. Same experience, different response. Okay, now, someone calls you a name, we can just keep going. So the point is, you want to be able to identify what the negative emotions are so you can respond to them more appropriately. So you can bring awareness to it, because your state governs your quality of life. Now you can do something about it. Before you were unaware, and you think you're aware, I promise you're not as aware as you think until you actually write it down. Writing clarifies thought and brings up things that are far deep in the mind and the subconscious that you haven't actually sat with. So make sure you're present when you're doing this, and you break this activity up into multiple times. You might need to come back to it. I came back to it a few times. I didn't do this all in one sitting, so don't expect yourself to. Now, let's go, after reflection, let's go to execution. Execution, high leverage habits for 10x productivity. What are the 20% of habits that made your day 80% better, less stressful, or more productive? Now I'll give you a list behind the scene of like, a lot of you know me to be highly productive, high output person, kind of living 10 lives in one. How do I do that? I'm giving you some of my habits, all the stuff that you guys don't see, and help improve the quality of my life. Also bring more presence to it as well. For example, pre-meal prayer and gratitude. That is a great thing if you're in a relationship. That's been really impactful, so much so for my relationship. So I've listed all mine here. When aware, expected impact, how you'll make this habit impossible to miss. That's a page from Atomic Habits. You need to make it visible. You need to make it easy to access. You need to make you need to make the destructive habits like really hard to reach. And you need to make the good ones really easy to reach. And so you have these habits, you need to make them very, very easy for you to do. So I was reflecting on the ones I do and the ones I want to continue. You want to do the same for yourself. And then you want to, the yellow, that's for me, that's one that I will continue, that is new for me that I'm going to implement. So you want to know which ones you want to add in, which ones you want to remove, and which ones you want to maintain. Then inevitably, these will actually go where? They will go in your Google Calendar, which we'll talk about, and I'll show you a little demo tutorial for that later. You can't just be written down, you have to actually put it somewhere. If you're a visual person, you can have a big 2026 visual calendar that you can buy online, and you can like whiteboard. It's called the Big Ass Calendar. You could do that. You can use an app I'm going to be releasing on here soon. It doesn't matter. Google Calendar's great. Use something. You need something to put it down. Step 5, decision remover. What are one-time or recurring decisions you can make that remove many decisions? This is really, 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 really important. It's via negativa. It's adding via subtraction. A lot of you think you need to add more. You actually need to remove way more. You don't need more. You need less choices to make. You don't need a full wardrobe. You actually just want a capsule piece of wardrobe, so you don't have to make new decisions every day. Notice a lot of those entrepreneurs, like high end, like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg types, Bill Gates types, they often wear the same thing or similar variation every day because it removes decision making. As you become more and more successful entrepreneur, as you have more lines of communication, you want to simplify. You need to simplify your decision-making processes. Otherwise, it's easy to become quite overwhelmed because you have so many lines of communication to manage. And so, for example, don't you notice that I wear largely the same things in my videos? I'll wear 3 variations of a tank, depending on the style of video I'm doing, or I'll wear a few variations of a shirt. That's it. So that's the mode you see me in. That's the brand you start to associate me with. And notice the background. It doesn't matter where I am. The shit looks largely the same. Great. Consistency. I don't have to think about that now. It's automated. That compounds. You are feeling partly overwhelmed in your day-to-day or anxious in your day-to-day because you have to often make so many different decisions. Where am I going to go? What am I going to eat? What time am I going to train? We want to really remove that by having a automated system that removes many decisions. I get meal prep service. The best one in Melbourne, in Victoria, is Fed, by far. Use the code Saad for a discount. I love them so much. I will shield them forever. I'd love to buy into the company. Home cooked meals, best in Melbourne. I wish they were around the world. That's meal prep. That saves me hours. That's absolutely worth the $100, $200, $300 a week that I pay for it. So action point for you, if you want to buy back 1 to 2 hours a day, if you make more than $50 an hour, absolutely worth it because you can just buy back the time. Outfit selection for my ladies. You guys spending a long time deciding your outfits. I know it's very important what you wear. Some of my guys who like to look good as well do that. Takes too long. Decide, particularly for your professional work, how you want, like what's your variations you want to roll with. And you could just like add variations and flair, especially if you're doing like camera work like this. Like it doesn't need to be a new piece every time. In fact, people associate your brand with something which is in your benefit if you're not randomly kind of not randomly, you're choosing a different outfit every time. Bill payments, obviously we have an automated system so that client onboarding, like that's a big one. Social media content. It is so exhausting to create content day by day by day. No, that's not right. That's the wrong belief. It can be quite fatiguing to create content from scratch every single day. Instead, batching is going to be one of the most effective things you do. So that's a system that you put in your calendar. So the action step after that is going to be, these are just examples. Stop doing what you're doing right now. Take these action steps and put them in the calendar. Put them in the calendar. They need to get done, or you just need to make a decision to remove them. For example, a meal plan a meal prep is a subscription service. So it's set and forget. One decision, done. The meals, and you might have to select new meals every week. Not with Fed. It's a great promo. You're welcome, Tyler. Like, not with Fed, because they rotate every week. So every week you get slightly different meals, and it's awesome. So I don't have to think about that. I don't have to pick new ones. I just let them pick. Or I can have like a little selection tool where it's like, I don't like pork, I love chicken. And you could just like select the ones you don't want. And then remembers, it's beautiful. I'll send this to Tyler. Step 6, more or less. Based on the above, what should you do more of in 2026 and what should you do less of? This is now, I know we talked about the decision remover, but this is like just compiling it into a list for yourself. And particularly now it touches on the more of. What didn't work as well, what did work as well. You're reflecting now particularly on the positive and the negative emotions, of what you did in your review earlier, and you're putting it in the list. For example, block 1 full device-free morning per week. The whole morning, device-free. No phone until after training or your walk or whatever you're doing. Remove. Remove WhatsApp from my computer to stay focused in deep work. Replace Netflix at night for non-distracted conversation with my partner. Maybe you want to do that 3 times a week. That's a big one for the relationships. This is great for creativity and processing your own emotions, thoughts, and stresses. Take 1 intentional solo walk per week to think without input, without podcasts. For me, I'm going to be, actually, write that list now, and then we'll get to the next one, okay? Before I speak on more or less. Now, second last one, one-time and recurring decisions. You know, some of these questions have somewhat similarity to it. Sometimes asking a question in a slightly different angle allows you to come with a slightly different answer to something you may not have thought of. Now, based on the answers from step 4, okay, this stuff. Remember this stuff? What are the one-time recurring habits? I know I said it here, but let me just come back to it. What are the one-time or recurring decisions you need to schedule in your calendar to do? One-time and recurring. A one-time is like I said, meal prep, or I need to find a VA, virtual assistant, hire them, have them on WhatsApp. Whenever I need, I message them. Done that. For example, me, I'll just give you my example. What's this guy doing? Get a MacBook Studio. Well, I already have a MacBook Pro and an ultra-wide screen and an iPad and Roadcast. Like, I got all the devices. I got 2 phones. What do I need that for? Well, higher quality, deeper work. Each event, each time that I'm pulled from something, because I go to WhatsApp and I respond to a client and I'm in deep work and I just have these notifications that pop up, dozens of hours of high leverage work get missed and skipped because I'm not segmenting my day appropriately from deep work to shallow work. I could put it in my calendar and I could say, this is when my deep work's going to be, and this is when my shallow work's going to be. But the reality is, even for me, sometimes shit's fucked. It's messy and it doesn't end up working out the way I intended. I react to something. So instead of trying to make myself the best, instead of trying to perfect myself, instead of beating yourself up as well for like not following through on the plan, you're like a goldfish in a tank. I just want to change the tank, change the environment, change the water quality so I can perform better in it. So that's what I'm going to do. I know when this blind is down and there's no outdoor light coming in, I actually can focus better. Funny that. Interesting, when I notice all these other entrepreneurs, they have offices and there's no windows. I'm like, why you have no windows? Where's the natural light coming in? I want to see nature. I really like that. It's good for your eyes to not be nearsighted. But I actually focus better when it's more like a dungeon. And that's what people like me tend to focus like that more. And so that's what I'm running with. It's working really well. It's designing environment better. What's a designing environment for this? I'm going to get the Mac Studio. I'm going to get rid of this laptop. And I'm going to be good. Then one device is for reactive work. I'm going to literally, it's a $4,000 laptop. It's perfectly fine. And it's like one of the best on the market. And I'm going to say, no, thank you. Why? Because I know I'm going to be able to get much deeper work done, even deeper, with more focus. If I buy a $4,000 Mac Studio, so also I can have more leverage, more output per unit of time, because that compounds. You might think, well, that's a frivolous that's a frivolous use of money. No, a frivolous use of money is all the alcohol you drink, is all the time you waste scrolling. That's money you're losing. You just don't equate it to money. It's all of the time that you are wasting. It's all of the non-decisions that you're making. It's all of the clothes that you buy. It's all of the coffees that you buy instead of realizing you can make it for 30 cents a cup yourself. So you're going to spend the money anyway. I'd rather spend it on having higher leverage, so then I can multiply my monies at a faster rate. That's a one-time decision for me. Back here, recurring, don't open WhatsApp in the morning. Deep work first. That is something I do like 85% of the time, and when I do it, we're rocking. Could not recommend that more. No alarms for me, unless I'm in zones where I have to wake up at like 5, 6 a.m. or whatever the case may be for very important calls. Last piece, guys, you got to schedule all this in your calendar now. If I haven't made it already obvious, we're coming back to the last piece. Schedule all of this one time recurring from step 5, one time recurring from step 2, positive actions. Get them all in your Google Calendar. I'll put a video here. If you don't know where to start, overwhelmed with Google Calendar, how do I use it? How do I time block? I just give you a little simple system there for you that I do myself. Again, if you're a visual person, you could just buy a calendar and you can like build something yourself. I love calendar because we can sync, we can email, we can notify other people. And I always have that tab open. I always have calendar tab open, make it visual, make it easy for yourself. And then coaches, health professionals, trainers, I got something extra for you. I said a gift, 30 protocols in 30 days and 30 ways to become an awesome coach or better coach. Protocols, systems. I give you 4 university grade masterclasses, at least biofeedback forms, T's and C's templates, tools, blood work templates. Just basically like a starter kit for like the health coach who wants to be better and be better than a degree graduate without having to do a degree. And it's free. So if you want that, you can just click here, put your details in, and you'll get the first email. It'll probably be in your promotions or spam or junk. So just check that. And that's what I have for you. Get this done now. Put this in your calendar. It will take some time, a few blocks of time potentially. I recommend doing it in the morning when you're the freshest and having no distractions around you, designing the goldfish bowl environment. And let me know how you go. Feel free to message me on IG. If you have any questions, you can download this below, and I will see you in the next one.